Zack Smith is a lifestyle branding and commercial photographer that has been involved in the social, musical, and cultural landscapes of Louisiana for the past 20 years. As both a musician, artist, and a storyteller, Smith believes that the world gets smaller as we celebrate our similarities and connect through our traditions and stories. As a producer, Zack has helped create powerful photography branding campaigns for Brand USA, New Orleans Tourism and Marketing, New Orleans Convention and Visitors Bureau, Chase Bank, LSU Health, Nike, Crew, Food Network, and many, 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 many more. Please help me welcome Zack Smith.
Good to see everybody here. A lot of familiar faces right here, some photographers I know, some people I haven't seen in a while, and some new faces. So I want to see a show of hands. Who is in their first year of design? Okay, and second year, and third and beyond. Okay, anybody who raised their hand, are you currently freelancing out there, taking some work in the community and whatnot? Let me see hands. That's awesome. Very cool. So a lot of this talk that I'm going to give you today is very photo heavy, and I'm sure you're okay with that. Any photographers here, raise your hand. Yeah. Who likes to take pictures, raise your hand. That's what I thought. A couple are saying, nah, I hate photography. That's fine. So a lot of this talk is going to be about collaboration and managing expectations. Not very boring when it comes to being creative and working with clients. Speaking of collaboration, Daniela and I have worked together about 10 years ago, showing the senior show at a gallery I used to curate at on Julia Street called Canary Gallery. So almost 10 years of collaboration, we're still working together. So I hope that you get something from this presentation. And I'm going to leave a little bit of time at the end for questions. And so please ask away. Okay, so when photographers and designers work together to create a visual story through images and design, communication is key. Where to leave space, where to direct energy, what are the deliverables? These are all questions to be asked before the shoot, before terms and deposit are even on the table. A lot of what I'm talking about is how I work with designers and folks who are working with agencies, with small boutique agencies, and some graphic designers who are freelancers who work on their own. These are all rules that I've found that apply in all situations. What I found that has worked for me in photography and in life is finding the balance between love and live. I think when I first got into photography is because I was passionate about the image and storytelling. I love to take pictures. I love to travel. I love the music. I love people. So I want to photograph them. But that love turns into a need to live when you have things like bills and rent and buying new gear, buying new cameras, computers, insurance, boring stuff like that, but very necessary. Photography found me. I've always been a writer, but in 1997, found I needed images and words to tell a better story of the world around me. 20 years later, I'm still passionate about storytelling, but to survive and create in the market today, I need to be more focused on making images that work with brands and clients while keeping my creative fire alive. Here's the ultimate challenge. So trying to find a way to still be passionate about the work, but also deliver to a client's needs, and walking that line and still feeling good about the work. So going to give you a little visual journey about where I came from and where I'm at, because it's all going to make sense. I'm a musician before I was a photographer, so naturally I speak the language of music. Finding the thing that you love in your life that has nothing to do with design and attaching that to design or attaching that to photography will give your work even more passion than you have, even more direction and purpose. So when I moved to New Orleans in 2000, I immersed myself in the music scene, began photographing at clubs and eventually became staff photographer at Jazz Fest, French Quarter Fest, Voodoo Fest, and anything that ends in fest in New Orleans. And that gave me a great angle of view on how a festival works, how writers are signed, how musicians get paid, how to set up a 10 by 10 foot photo booth on a festival grounds, get the proper permits, the things that you don't learn by just walking around in the street shooting, but necessary tools that I needed for later. At these festivals, I have a job for my client. Every festival wants to tell its story, whether it's French Quarter Fest with the backdrop of the French Quarter showing the Louisiana musicians in front of it, or Jazz Fest showing the top-notch billing because you have one festival that's free and one that's not. So their goals are different, but in the end, it's all music and culture, right? But there's a different approach to all of them. While I'm doing this, I always keep one foot in the creative side. So when I'm walking around at a festival, I look for the shadows. I look for the angles. I find the things that brought me to photography in the first place. I'm always connected to that passion and that creativity while I'm working for my client. I call it, one for me, one for you, while I'm working. And while I'm doing this, I'm increasing my portfolio. I'm increasing the images that I have to pitch to the next festival, to pitch to the next brand. Anybody here is familiar with metadata and how it works, right? A few people? The way we can enter information into photographs that allow us to call them later. Like I can put in trumpet, tuxedo brass band, and I can call upon those images later when someone else wants something. As you're making designs, as you're collaborating with people, think about metadata as a way to use that in the future to create new portfolios for what you do. So, from music, I ended up meeting musicians, and I ended up gaining trust from people that I can sit down with them and have a private photo shoot with folks like Little Freddie King, where instead of using the ambient natural light around me, I can get creative with strobes, with off-camera flash, with partnering with unique locations around the city to create an even deeper story, one that I can control the background, subject, and foreground. And we're thinking about design, it's telling that story with also words and photographs. I'm still in the love part of photography. So the thing that I love about photography is that with one image, I can tell the story of a person. And when we're able to use unique locations like there are in the city, I can use the tools that I have and the gear that I have to create an even deeper meaning. As photographers, we are magicians. We're taking a three-dimensional moment that has sound and it has wind and smell and depth, and we're turning it into a flat two-dimensional image. We are magicians because we need to create the illusion of depth. And by doing that, I'm able to use my strobes and gels to create depth. And you probably learn a little bit of that in design with utilizing different rules of composition, using negative space to put copy, using different design elements to create the illusion of depth. So with bands, with working with live musicians, I get hired to do promotional photography, album covers, EPKs, which is an electronic press kit, which still musicians use to this day to send out to venues and festivals to get booked. When I'm photographing musicians, a big part of the photographs, the end result, is a direct line of many emails, text messages, and phone calls of collaboration. Finding out from them, what are you going to use these images for? Where are they going to go? How long do you want to use them? Who's your audience? This is something that, as a creative in the business world, we have to ask every client. The more we can ask in the beginning, the better our deliverable will be. Asking the why and the where and the how will allow us even more creative freedom when we're actually creating and we're shooting, because we know where it's going to go. We know to shoot horizontal or vertical. We know to leave space at the top or the bottom right. And we know so much more because we've collaborated and talked with the client. A lot of the musicians that I work with have different gigs that they use different promotional aspects of. So getting in with one type of band will get me work down the road. So a band that I've been collaborating for a long time is the Lost Bayou Ramblers and Preservation Hall. So anytime that they'll have something going on, they'll call me to do something. And at this point, sometimes I just show up with a new lens or a new light or a new idea, and they just say, do whatever you want. It doesn't always happen like that. I wish it did. If someone just said, look, I trust you, do whatever you want, here's the money, that's fine. That would be amazing, right? It doesn't always happen like that. A lot of times, I have to work very closely with musicians to create the right images for their brand. I can't just throw on a bunch of lights and take their picture. In these next photographs right here, these are musicians that I've shot in the studio scene in order to help them on their own individual brand. So as you see, a lot of what I do involves people, involves faces, story, location, environment, and sometimes there's this magic moment. To be able to use these tools I have to creatively express a client's vision is the ultimate job. Like when job is not the best word, see, I hope there's no English majors in here, the best word to describe what you do, it's magic, it's creative, and you're getting paid for it. So there are times where I'm able to work with clients who say, we like what you do, we want you to do what you do for us. And that's the ultimate compliment, I think. A lot of the work I've done with the New Orleans Tourism and Marketing is some of the highlights in the last few years of what I've done. Being able to take New Orleans, tell the story of people with New Orleans as a backdrop to market it to the rest of the state, the country, and the world. Right now, they're doing these big marketing pushes to China. A lot of Chinese are touring, are big tourists right now. They're touring around the world. They're staying for weeks at a time in New Orleans, and a lot of people from France as well, which we're also a Francophone-speaking area as well. So a lot of these images I'm seeing in Southwest Magazine, in French airlines and magazines. It's really cool. So I'm able to tell the story of local brands as well. And while I'm telling the story of local brands, I'm doing the one for me, one for you. I was shooting on Oak Street the other day, and there's this, I forget this guy's name, but he runs the barber shop on Oak Street. If anybody knows him, he's always there. He's always happy to do a portrait. And I just thought that this was a nice moment that I could get for me. I don't think anybody's going to use this. This is not one of the selects that the client made, but I love it anyway. I do a lot of stuff like this, these kind of relaxing, drinking with your buddies kind of photography. Very general, could be anywhere, because a lot of designers like to put copy in there to use the brand that they're working for to sell a product. Who doesn't love laser tag? Being able to photograph laser tag out in Metairie was a fun highlight as well. So the tools that I use, I'm able to bring different type of lights to shoots. I usually don't bring everything. I try to make sure that I bring exactly what I need. I try to create the setting sun inside of an office building. So this is a very boring, dark office boardroom that I used a warm gel over a light and placed it in a way that it made it look like these folks were working late or they were working early, rising sun or setting sun. It just shows a little bit more dynamic image. Some more New Orleans tourism images. So you see how I'm able to use the people and the environment to tell the story. So this is another one for a client, the French Market District, which I'll show you some images later where we worked in the branding. So when I first started out, and you can kind of see in these images, I'm a big fan of filling the frame. Filling the frame with every little piece of image and information that tells a story. I don't like to leave a lot of space. That's my natural inclination. To not leave a lot of space it doesn't allow the designer to have much room to work any type in there or any design. So slowly over the years, I've had to get used to doing the one for me, one for you. I'll get a tight shot of something, but I'll also pull back and get that wide. So I have to be cognizant of it because I have to send them images that they can work with. I was recently on a road trip to a few different cities for Brand USA, and I had an extensive shot list in a few different cities to tell the story of a city in like 48 hours. So to try to tell the story of Dallas or Austin or Natchez in 2 days, it's very difficult. So we have shot lists that are down to the half an hour. We have a driver going around to these different locations. We're planning the best time of day to get there. We have model releases with us, so anytime you see a person in there that's for a brand and commercial use, we're having them sign model releases so they can use them. It was really fun because it kept us on a schedule, and I got to see more of these cities than I ever have. But if you notice, the images here are getting wider because the brand wanted a lot of wide space. The people, they wanted them small, which is definitely not how I shoot. But I understand why they wanted it that way, because what they're trying to do is tell the viewer, you could be here. How can, with a photograph, you pull someone in when there's no room to pull them in? And a lot of things clicked for me there when my natural tendency is to get really tight to look in the eyes or to look right where I want you to look. But if I don't leave space, then there's no bringing you further in. So that was a lot of the love right there. And then there's work. When what you do feels like a job, feels like work, you make the most of it. You push the line of creativity and functionality to produce work that makes the client happy. Yay. At the end of the day, you've strengthened your brand, you've solidified new relationships and gained new problem-solving techniques. Oh, and you paid some bills. So, this guy is making batteries. This is not why I got into photography, to photograph folks like this, but this provides me a challenge, both technically, how to creatively light a room where this guy works in pitch black, to still tell that story, a way to showcase a casino and all these happy people, which I don't know the last time you went to a casino. I don't see any happy people. There's not too many. But that was my job, to make everyone happy. Everyone's eating, everyone's winning, everyone's betting. Zach's leaving negative space all over the place. So this was tough for me at one hand, but then I'm paying bills with the other. And a lot of what you're probably going to do in your future, if you stay with design, is that you're going to have to take work that pays the bills, and you're going to have to take the work that fuels your creativity. It's finding that magic moment where both work together. Stuff like this. That's exciting, right? Pointing on a construction site. How exciting that is, right? So they're actually building the new Louis Armstrong Airport terminal before they put all the windows up. But then you get here, you get these workers on the job site, you got the sun setting. And with the tools that I know, I'm able to create this starburst with the sun and light them with a strobe and block the streets for a little bit. That's kind of fun. That's kind of cool. So I'm going to talk a little bit about collaboration is key. 5:50, all right, still good on time. Collaboration is key. Managing expectations follows. I don't know why I put that there. I did this today, okay? It was the hardest thing for me at first when working with designers and agencies who had a plan. The fact that they had a vision of my work before I did was very humbling. I hope you understand that. As a creative photographer, I have an idea. I go out and get the picture, and from corner to corner, it's mine. I made it. I can defend it to the end. Working with organizations, companies, brands who come to me for images, they've got a plan. They've got a composition. They've got the talent, and they have the way they want it lit. It's just everything that I was going against when I first started shooting. But the humbling part about that is that they're coming to me to create images for their brand, and they're coming to me to be creative with the box that they've made for me. So creating space for the message and communicating clearly was the key to success here. So I'm going to show you how I've worked with brands and designers to incorporate what they do into my images. So this series of images for the Bold by Night, the Champion Square music series, which is great, by the way. This concept was to photograph these popular players. Everybody recognizes the 610 Stompers, and that's Lauren Flirty Girl from the T-shirt company. Recognizable New Orleans characters in front of the stage. And they wanted me so far back so that we don't see what's going on, but we even hired a band. There's a band on that stage right now playing. With the speakers, it's loud, and there's nobody there, just to create the energy, okay? But you can't really see them. That's the funny thing. But all along, the client's saying, oh, it's going to be blocked by copy, don't worry. I'm going through my head, well, why wouldn't you be able to see the band? It's the band, come on. But you have Trixie Minx in front, Fleur de Tease, that's fine. You see what she's doing, the feathers are beautiful, she's beautiful. It advertises the schedule on the right there. I recently did a campaign with Canal Place. These are actually running on billboards on Canal and around the city where they wanted a very, very pulled back wide image. This crop right here is a crop from a full body vertical image. So if I had my way, I would have taken the picture like this. I'm able to utilize a certain part of the lens. It's going to be sharper. I'm able to focus a little bit tighter, but again, the client wanted a longer image so that they have more use out of it. So this is on their website right now, and it definitely went against the way that I compose, but I thought the images looked great. Y'all recognize anybody in here? You see anybody you know? Yeah, no, maybe? I was hired by Loyola to create new images for their incoming freshman brochures. This was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it was a really great shoot because it was a great creative team. We went to every building on campus. We worked with only students and teachers to create images to show diversity, to show education, sports, and it was a really fun shoot. And actually, some of these images are still on the banner right outside of Roussel. They need to change them, though. They're falling apart. Anybody seen them? Yeah. So anyway, I got to go to this campus, which is amazing, and see how light changed through the day. We shot for about 2 days. Light coming in buildings, the sun rising and setting, seeing things through the eyes of the client was very exciting. A lot of these people had no clue they were going to be in a photo shoot, which is kind of exciting as well. And this was really exciting to be able to see the mock-ups of the design before we shot. So they knew the font they were going to use, they knew where it was going to go, and my job was to create the images to go in there. So I knew how these images were going to be used so I could create the space. Recent campaign I did for French Market District, which is kind of ongoing, using the historic French Market District to promote the district to families. And what we would do, what a lot of people are doing now is taking a day to shoot and getting every asset they can in one day. So to market to Caucasian families, African American families, Asian families, LGBT families, singles, girls' night out, guys' night out, all in one day. So we get the location, we get the compositions, and we have a bunch of people waiting, and we just kind of bring them in. Every group that comes in, I change my lighting scheme, change my composition, change the depth of field to make it look like a different day, time, and that they can use it in different areas, and it doesn't look like it's the same people on the same shoot. But if you do notice, there are some same people in some of the shots that I do. The woman on the top left and her son are people that I've used a few times. So normally the French Market District will have festivals, so they use the images for their festivals. Discover the District, so the whole new revamping of the moonwalk. They're using these for the streetcars and for all the, like the streetcar stops. So I work with clothing companies to design their layouts and their images for their clothing. This was a fun shoot a little over 10 years ago. And LSU Health Foundation, not the most exciting stuff that I've done, but when I see it mocked up and I see it on their website, it makes me feel really proud that I'm able to tell their story. A1 Services mat cleaners. Another, not why I got into photography, photographing a mat cleaning company, but I got to learn a lot. I've seen these dryers that are as big as this room, and these cranes that come in and drop all these dirty mats down. That's pretty cool. I would have never seen that if I didn't have a camera. The camera and the ability to tell the story with it has gotten me places that I've never been able to go to before. People I would have never met, and I've been around the world multiple times because of the camera. This is for a Hancock Whitney rebrand, where the client says, upper left, leave space for the client. Leave space for the brand. Okay, where to go from here? So you learned your tools, you're listening, so you're listening to your client, you're listening to yourself, you're learning. What's next? How can you strengthen and change your industry for the better? I always find that the more I can educate those around me, the stronger my profession becomes at a local level. Empowering the next generation of photographers, brands, and artists through workshops, tutorials, and just good old giving back. That's my story. I think photography's great. I like paying the bills. I like being creative, but that's not the end-all, be-all to life. It's that I'm passionate about people and culture and where I live. If there's any way that I can figure out how to help people and how to give back while at the same time being true to my brand and my vision, I'm going to do that. So I've recently started working with local brands in creating these Facebook Live free tutorials where I work with a brand who needs photography. So in this case, it was Go-Go Jewelry, and she came to me with a problem. She needed a lookbook, and she didn't have a budget. So I said, well, there's a trade situation we can do. I'm sure a lot of you have traded before, with family, with friends, where money doesn't come into it. But what are y'all both going to get out of it? So with these images, we film the actual photo shoot so that people that want to learn how to photograph jewelry, how to communicate with a client, how to create a storyboard, how to light certain reflective subjects, and how to light models can learn. But also the client does a Facebook Live as well, so her followers can find out early what kind of jewelry she's making, what's going on, a little insight about her creative process. And I found that has elevated the discussion about how we can work with clients and be creative in this social and digital media age. One of the first ones I did was a hat photo shoot. This is Colby Abear, and he's a hat maker right next door to me on Magazine. I have a studio on Magazine in between Jenna and Cadiz, and we photographed his hats and filmed the whole thing. It was received very well, so I did it again. This was just an outtake, an example of what the jeweler brought to me beforehand. We shared Pinterest pages. We got on Google Docs on a screen share in our studios to see what each other was doing in preparation. And she made these mood boards up of the style direction she wanted me to take. By being able to see this, I'm able to get the lights that I needed out, the backdrops, and also get my setup done before they even got here. And this was, it's kind of flipped around. This is some of the final images from the hat shoot. Okay, I'm done a little bit early, but I want to thank you all for your attention, and I do want you to keep in touch. So I have my contacts here if you want to take a picture of it. I'm just going to leave this up here. But I am available for questions right now. If anybody has any specific questions about what I do, about what I talked about or about what I didn't talk about and you want to know. Yeah.
Earlier in the session, you talked about how you had to learn how to balance like loving the work that you make on your personal time and like the work that you make for your clients. I wanted to know if, like, for instance, your work has changed since you started like working more commercially or like with clients. Like, has the subject matter changed in your personal work as well?
You know what? There's a yes and no to that. I'm always connected to people and stories. So my personal work still revolves around people. The way that I approach it and the pre-planning and production of it has drastically changed. I don't just go into an area or a portrait or a shoot with my cameras with a blank slate, no ideas. There's a lot of communication with the people I'm photographing. In the last few years, technology has really helped us plan things. Like there's a ton of apps that I use to tell where the light direction is going to be, the sun's going to set and rise, cloud patterns, and I'm able to gauge the best time of day to shoot. A project that that's ongoing is called My Louisiana Muse, where I photograph Louisiana artists in the area where they feel the most inspired. Painters, photographers, sculptors, writers, and I'm able to do a lot of planning for a shoot in, say, Poverty Point in North Louisiana without having to go there. Before I started doing a lot of commercial work, I'd probably just drive up there and stay up there to figure out what's going on. Probably waste a lot of time, waste a lot of money. So yeah, I'm way more efficient these days, for sure. Good question. Anybody? Yes, Danielle.
So, I mean, what's your schedule like? You're not 8 to 5, I'm assuming, and when you don't have a client, are you then trying to use that time to do creative shoots? Like, what is your schedule like in your life?
It changes. It really does evolve. I kind of have been going through phases. So last year I opened up a studio and magazine about a year to the date, and that's really changed everything. So in a way that it's forced me to be way more organized with my time. So I am now more an 8 to 5, 8 to 6 person, where I used to just be a 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and work as much as I can, but I was not as efficient as I am now. I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, which I want to spend time with. So I've had to give up a few clients who were doing weekend shoots to some of the photographers I work with so I could spend time. So that's allowed me to be even more efficient. So the time I have for creative shoots is definitely less than it ever has been, because just being out there like I am, I'm either spending more time putting together proposals. 50% of them go nowhere. 50% of them I have to see through and do deposits and terms and communication that take me away from actually photographing. So a lot more business work than actually photographing, but I can't tell you how blessed that I feel and how grateful I am to be able to still be photographing for a living, no matter what it is. So yeah, it has changed, but it's definitely more efficient. Any questions? Yeah. I see you up there. You're next. Yeah.
You sort of made a switch from writing to taking photos. How did you get your first clients? Did you just build a personal portfolio and work from that?
I still write. So I have a 12-year active blog. All the copy that I do on my blog is my own words. And I feel that writing, especially nowadays with the way Google works at SEO and keywording, when we do images, we need to do words if we want to be found. So I'm still writing a lot. So the first clients I got were family. I mean, that's kind of, grandma bought the first portrait. My Aunt Marilyn is a poet, so she hired me to photograph some things for a poetry book in 1998. I worked for the what's it called? I think the Daily Advertiser in Lafayette for not a lot of money. We were shooting film back then, and it was just, it was different. I was definitely not, I was nowhere near where I was today. My confidence level was here. My education was here. So I was going out there trying to get as much work from people, but I just didn't have the experience. So every job I tried to make just enough mistakes in order to learn from them, but also deliver the client what they wanted. And I mean, made a lot of mistakes, a lot. And that's how I learned, pretty much. Did that answer your question? Yeah, okay, yeah.
As of someone who's starting out photography, what kind of experiences do you mean by in order to get you to like having pictures that you just started taking out but then looking at them in a professional view?
Say the first part again. It's kind of quiet.
Just starting out, how do you go from just having regular pictures and then making it look like in a professional view to have like business?
So having regular pictures to making them.
In order to transition that way.
Well, I think that there's a lot that goes on in between the what maybe I call snapshots to images with purpose. And I think when you see a professional photographer, the way that they present themselves online in a talk, they're only showing you their best work, right? So you get to your best work by shooting a lot of images before that great shot and a lot of images after it. Then the more you shoot, the more you hone your skills and craft to get the images you want. But I think with someone starting out is, as what I said in the beginning, finding that thing that has nothing to do with design or photography, that passionate thing that you love, that's unique to you, and photographing that. That's going to be your key to owning something, to owning a part of your story that no one else can take away from you. You're going to go photograph those things you feel passionate about every day, rather than photograph things that you think you have to go shoot. And in doing that, you're going to grow to like these images, and you're going to develop your style. When you develop your style, you have the confidence to put it out there so people see you for who you want them to see you as. So shoot every day. Shoot, if you have a goal to make one great exposure that you can hang on the wall, that's a great goal to have. It's tough to do, but it's a great goal. Any more questions? Yes.
So, okay, it's kind of two-part. Do you have any formal education in photography? And if not, how did you teach yourself, or what did you do, or what practices did you do?
So that's a good question. In the beginning, I taught myself. I converted my bathroom in college to a darkroom, and I read books. And there was a photographer in Baton Rouge, and I watched him. I asked him if I could watch him do from the processing of the film to the darkroom part of the print to show me how he did it, and I took notes. And I wasted a lot of money and a lot of film, and I taught myself in my bathroom. And that was 97 to 99. Then I mentored with a lot of photographers. And to this day, I'm still learning from photographers all around me. And the only formal education I got was from a place called Rocky Mountain School of Photography in Missoula, Montana. And in 2000, I went there. It was a summer intensive. Basically, it was a point in my career, early in my career, where I was frustrated with my lack of knowledge of the technical aspects of photography. I saw things, I wanted them, and I couldn't tell the camera what to do to get them. And I was just frustrated. So I took this workshop out there that really hammered down the nuts and bolts for me to teach me how to get the things I wanted. But the greatest experience I've ever had was mentoring and assisting photographers. So just putting myself out there and assisting for commercial photographers, fine art photographers, the lifelong lessons I'm gaining from working with Herman Leonard, who's one of my just masters of photography. I learned so much from both from the camera side and just how to listen and how to be a good human being with people you don't know. Getting in front of a camera is not an easy thing for a lot of people. And it's not an easy thing for a lot of people to be themselves, relax. You know, it's the last thing you want to hear photographers say, right? And learning from other photographers on how to approach that gave me the tools I need to to take better pictures with people. But I'm learning every day. There's not one point where I feel like I've got it, you know? That's when I'm done. Does that answer your two-part question? Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.